Hello and welcome to Building English Vocabulary the Smart Way. I'm Emma, and here with me is Max.
Hi, everyone. In this podcast, we're going to talk about ways to build your English vocabulary, especially if you're at an intermediate or elementary level. Vocabulary is like the foundation of a house. It's what helps you build sentences and express yourself clearly.
That's a great way to put it, Max. Learning new words can really change the way we communicate and understand others. But it's not just about learning lots of words. Today, we'll talk about how to learn new words so that they actually stick in your mind.
Exactly, Emma. It's about learning words in a smart way. One of the first things to think about is understanding why we're learning certain words. Some words are used all the time, like house or run. Others might be more rare or just for specific situations.
That's right, Max. When you're starting, it helps to focus on the most common words, the ones you'll use every day. This will help you become more comfortable speaking and listening.
And a great way to do this is by using lists of common words or watching everyday conversations. For example, learning words related to places you go often, like the kitchen, school, or market, is more helpful than learning rare words you might not use.
Yes, another way to make words stick is to use them in real life. Maybe you could write them down in sentences or make flashcards to review them. Practice makes perfect, after all.
Another trick is to learn words in groups. For example, if you're learning words about food, learn several together, like apple, orange, bread, butter. That way, when you think about food, you'll remember them all at once.
That's a great idea. And for each word, try to learn a little bit more. So if you learn apple, try to learn a word related to it, like fruit. That way, you're making connections in your mind, which will help you remember.
And if you hear a new word and it sounds interesting or funny, say it out loud. Sometimes just hearing yourself say a word can make it easier to remember.
Good point, Max. It's also really helpful to use new words in real sentences. For example, if you're learning apple, you could say, I like eating an apple every day. This way, you're practicing vocabulary in a real sentence.
Yes, it's all about putting words into practice. If you only read them but never use them, they're easy to forget.
Now, let's dive a little deeper into learning vocabulary in ways that really stick. One thing that helps is using words in different situations. So, say you learned the word run. Try thinking of how you could use run not only for exercise, but also in other ways. Like, the bus runs every morning, or I have to run to the store. You're practicing different ways to use the same word.
That's such a great tip, Emma. English has so many words that can be used in more than one way. For example, take the word light. It can mean something that isn't heavy, or it can mean something bright. So, learning different meanings for the same word can actually help you remember it better because you're connecting it to more than one idea.
Absolutely, Max. And another helpful technique is using visuals. If you're learning the word tree, for instance, look at a picture of a tree while you're learning the word. This helps your brain make a strong link between the word and what it represents. It's easier to remember something when you have a picture in your mind.
Visuals are so powerful. You could even go a step further and make a little drawing if you like to sketch. It doesn't need to be fancy, just enough to help you remember the word. Or you could make a vocabulary notebook with pictures next to each word.
Oh, I love that idea. And speaking of notebooks, keeping a vocabulary journal can be a fun and helpful tool. You can write down each new word you learn, along with a sentence and maybe even a little picture or symbol. That way, you have a collection of all the new words you're learning.
Yes, having a dedicated place for new words really makes a difference. And if you review your journal regularly, you'll start to remember those words naturally over time. You can even add a few words each day and try using them in conversations, even if it's just with yourself.
And don't be afraid to speak out loud, like Max said earlier. Practicing saying words out loud, even if you're alone, really helps. You could even try describing what you see around you in English. Like, I see a blue sky, or there's a big green tree. You're using real words in a real context.
Definitely, Emma. Another technique that works well is listening and repeating. For example, if you're watching a video or listening to someone speak in English, try repeating what they say. It helps you learn pronunciation and feel more comfortable speaking in English.
Yes, repetition is so important. The more you repeat a word, the more it sticks. You could even listen to your favorite songs in English and sing along. Songs are a great way to learn new words and get comfortable with pronunciation because music helps with memory.
That's a great point, Emma. Music and rhymes make learning fun and memorable. Another idea is to try making connections between English words and words in your own language. So, if you're learning the word book in English and it sounds similar to the word for book in your language, that connection might make it easier to remember.
Oh, definitely. Making connections with your own language helps bridge the gap and makes learning feel a bit easier. And don't be afraid to ask yourself questions like, where can I use this word? Or what does it remind me of when learning new vocabulary?
That's a good point, and one more thing to keep in mind is to focus on words that interest you. If you like cooking, start by learning words related to food. Or, if you're interested in sports, learn vocabulary connected to that. You're more likely to remember words that matter to you personally.
Yes, when the words are relevant to your life, it feels like they belong to you, in a way. Also, talking to friends or other learners about the words you've learned can help reinforce your memory. Sharing helps you remember.
And if you don't have someone to practice with, you can even try writing stories or short paragraphs using the words you've learned. It doesn't need to be perfect, just a few sentences about your day or something that happened to you. You're using new words in a creative way, which makes them stick.
So now that we've explored using different techniques for learning vocabulary, let's talk about reviewing and practicing regularly. Learning new words is great, but if we don't review them, we can easily forget. A good way to keep words fresh in your mind is to go over them every few days.
Yes, regular review is key. You could try going through your vocabulary journal every morning or every evening. Just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. And if you see a word that you're starting to forget, spend a little more time with it, maybe use it in a sentence or find an example of it in a book or online.
Exactly, Max. And remember, it's okay if you don't remember every word perfectly right away. Learning a language is a journey. The important part is to keep practicing and reviewing without worrying too much about mistakes. Mistakes are actually a good sign that you're trying and learning.
That's right, Emma. Mistakes are just part of the process. And another useful tool for practicing is to use flashcards. You can make your own or use an app. Flashcards are great because you can look at them quickly and go through a lot of words in a short time. Plus, you can test yourself and see which words you remember and which you need to work on more.
Flashcards are definitely helpful, and you don't have to do it alone. If you have a friend who's also learning English, you can test each other. You can even make it a fun game where you take turns guessing the meaning of each word. Learning with someone else can make it more enjoyable.
Great idea, Emma. Learning with friends or even in a study group can keep you motivated. Plus, you'll be more likely to remember words when you hear them being used in different ways. And speaking of that, if you're comfortable, try to speak English whenever you can. Even if it's just a few words or simple sentences, every bit of practice helps.
Yes, speaking is one of the best ways to remember vocabulary. Don't worry too much about making everything perfect. Just get used to saying the words out loud. Even if it's talking to yourself in English while doing things around the house, like I'm making breakfast or I need to wash the dishes, every little bit of practice counts.
Absolutely, Emma, and if you can, try talking to native speakers or people fluent in English. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't understand a word. Many people are happy to help, and you'll learn faster by hearing how words are really used in conversation.
Right, real conversations give you a feel for how words fit naturally into sentences. And sometimes you can even learn slang or informal expressions, which can help you sound more natural. For example, instead of just saying "I'm tired," you might hear someone say "I'm beat." Little phrases like that can make your English sound more fluent.
Great example, Emma. Picking up those small, everyday phrases makes your English sound more relaxed and natural. And when you hear a phrase you like, write it down in your vocabulary journal or add it to your flashcards. That way, you'll have a mix of regular words and expressions to use.
And remember, it's okay to ask people to repeat or explain things. If someone uses a word or phrase you don't know, you can say, "Could you explain that?" Or "What does that mean?" Most people appreciate your curiosity and are glad to help.
Definitely, asking questions shows that you're interested and eager to learn. Plus, the more you ask, the easier it becomes to understand new words and expressions. And when you look up new words, it's a good idea to check for synonyms and antonyms, words with similar or opposite meanings.
Yes, learning synonyms and antonyms can really expand your vocabulary. For instance, if you know the word happy, you can also learn joyful, content, and cheerful. It gives you more options to express yourself and makes your English sound richer and more interesting.
That's a great point, Emma, and you can also learn words based on themes. So, if you're focusing on vocabulary about emotions, you could learn words like sad, excited, nervous, and relaxed, or if you're interested in travel, you can focus on words like airport, luggage, passport, and ticket. Grouping words by theme can make learning easier.
I love that approach. And speaking of making learning easier, don't forget to celebrate your progress. Learning English can be challenging, but it's important to recognize every step forward. Even if you only learn a few new words each week, that's still progress.
Absolutely. Learning a language is a big achievement. Take time to appreciate how far you've come and keep building on it. It's about the journey, not just the destination. So don't stress about learning everything at once. Take your time, enjoy the process, and keep practicing.
That's right, Max. Consistency is key. And over time, you'll see big improvements. Keep using the words you learn, keep speaking, listening, and reviewing, and you'll get better each day.
And on that note, thank you for joining us on Building English Vocabulary the Smart Way. We hope these tips help you feel more confident and excited to learn new words in English.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to practice regularly and find joy in each new word you learn. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share it with friends and family, and keep coming back for more tips.
Take care, everyone, and happy learning.
Bye for now, and keep building that vocabulary.